The i4 M50 is the first fully electric performance vehicle from BMW's M division, essentially a battery-powered version of the 4 Series Gran Coupe. This vehicle offers explosive acceleration, plenty of great tech, and a few compromises you might not expect. Before jumping inside and then hitting the road, let's take a moment to talk about this car's exterior styling. Aside from that gigantic faux grille that reminds me a lot of flared nostrils, one of the first things you're going to notice about this particular car is the paint job. It's a matte finish and it's called Frozen Portimao Blue Metallic. This color is absolutely stunning and worth every single penny of the $3,600 BMW charges for it. We also have the $2,800 M Carbon exterior package, which includes a special trunk lid spoiler, as well as unique mirror caps and bumper trim. This car also has the $2,500 high performance package that includes 20-inch wheels, which look great, but savage the range. More on that later when we compare this configuration to its lesser siblings. Instead of pop-out handles or push buttons like you might get on other vehicles, you open these doors using old-school flipper-style grips, kind of like cars used to have back in the 1990s. And I'm sure this design is more aerodynamic than a pull handle that you might be familiar with, but it's not very finger-friendly. Every time I go to get inside this thing, my hand wants to slip off, and that's just not very good. For better or worse, you get frameless windows just like a traditional coupe. There's also a lift-back rear end that opens up nice and wide so you can access the car's luggage compartment. Unfortunately, there is no front trunk, just a whole bunch of plastic. And the same can be said of the i4 M50's interior. Now, nothing is cheap, nothing feels flimsy, but still this cabin isn't quite as nice as what you get from rivals like Audi, Mercedes-Benz, and even Genesis. Some of the materials are just a little bit more mainstream. However, BMW's Sensatec artificial leather looks nice and feels good, especially in this rich cognac color. Now, for $1,500 extra, you can get rich Vernasca leather, which is offered in a variety of different colors. It's funny, if you're looking to name some fancy new kind of leather, just pick a random village in Italy and you are off to the races.
Experience our rich Montefano leather. Processed with eco-friendly chestnut wood tannins and ethically shucked off grass-fed, sustainably raised cattle. Montefano leather is exclusively available in select models from the Cole Motor Rickshaw Company.
These front chairs are perfectly fine. I mean, they're nothing to write home about, but the back seat, now that's a little bit tight for adult passengers. The door openings are also pretty narrow, which makes it a challenge to get into or out of this vehicle. Up on the dashboard, we have a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, as well as a 14.9-inch central touchscreen. Both panels are crisp, clear, and mounted in this beautiful, slightly curved housing. BMW's iDrive 8 infotainment system lives in there. It has a fairly steep learning curve, but it is super responsive, and it's fairly intuitive once you sit down and learn the basics of how everything functions. Though this is a system you're going to have to spend some time poking around because there's a lot of functionality here. This is not a multimedia array where you can just jump behind the wheel and figure it all out. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard, and both smartphone mirroring systems can connect to this BMW wirelessly, so yay for that. This car also has a wireless phone charger, a lovely head-up display, and a Harman Kardon premium audio system. Beyond that, we also have a 360-degree camera system with a 3D view and automatic parking functionality. Now, all of those features are either standalone options or included in a package.
3 versions of this BMW are available for 2023, and that's one more than last year. There's the new entry-level i4 eDrive 35, the mid-range i4 eDrive 40, and of course the performance-oriented i4 M50. Now the first 2 models have a single motor and a rear-wheel drive, but the M-tuned offering comes standard with all-wheel drive. Naturally, the specs vary significantly between these models. When it comes to battery sizes, they are slightly different. The The i4 eDrive 35 has a gross capacity of 70.2 kilowatt hours, while the two higher-end models share a pack that clocks in at 83.9 kilowatt hours. The base model can DC fast charge at up to 180 kilowatts, while the i4 eDrive 40 and i4 M50 both top out at 200 kilowatts. Those are not industry-leading speeds, but they are impressive nonetheless. Moving along to range, the i4 eDrive 35 should go up to 256 miles between charges. The i4 eDrive 40 maxes out at 301, and the 2023 i4 M50 can go as many as 271 miles between charges. Of course, these distances do go down when larger wheels and tires are fitted. In fact, when the standard 19-inch rollers are swapped out for larger 20s, like our test car has, the i4 M50's range plummets to just 227 miles, which is not terribly impressive. And this just goes to show you the huge impact wheels and tires can have on vehicle efficiency. Finally, let's talk output. The base i4's single rear motor provides a more than respectable 282 horsepower. The mid-range model is graced with 335, and the M variant cranks out up to 536 horses with boost mode engaged. It's a similar story with torque. The i4 should offer 295, 317, and 586 pound-feet of twist, respectively. The torque here is pretty remarkable.
And so is the i4 M50's acceleration. This car is so quick off the line. It hits so hard. I practically expect the CV joints to explode like pipe bombs. The thing just goes kaboom when you jump on the accelerator pedal. It's almost violent. BMW estimates this car can go from 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds, and I'll tell you, it feels every bit that quick. Supporting a not insubstantial curb weight of right about 5,000 pounds is an adaptive suspension system with adjustable dampers and self-leveling rear air shocks. Now, this combo provides a ride that is both settled over larger undulations and very smooth when the going gets rough. This Bimmer always feels a little bit husky, because it is, but those large 20-inch wheels that do so much to degrade the i4 M50's range do not affect the ride quality much at all. This car is always very comfortable and planted, especially for an EV. All-wheel drive is standard here, but in normal use, the rear motor is doing all of the work. Unless there's wheel slip or lots of lateral acceleration, then the front unit comes into play. When it does engage, it's pretty much completely transparent. You adjust how aggressive the regenerative braking is using settings in the infotainment system, but to access the one-pedal driving mode, you simply click the shifter over from D to B. Very easy to do. A lot of other EVs, of course, have paddles on the steering wheel that allow you to adjust the regenerative braking. As for the one-pedal drive mode in this BMW, I don't have a lot to say about it. It's smooth, it will slow the car down to a stop, and it works as advertised. The i4 M50 is competent, but unquestionably, its biggest dynamic weakness is the steering. As I mentioned, this car is properly quick and it rides very well, but the wheel feels just completely ho-hum. There's no liveliness to it at all, and it's no better than what you might get in, say, a Toyota BZ4X, which is pretty disappointing for an M-tuned vehicle. This car also tends to wander a little bit, even on straight, smooth roads. For a little bit more engagement, there's a setting called Iconic Sounds that will actually mimic the noises an internal combustion powertrain makes. And as you can hear, it's a little bit Jetsons, but it's not entirely bad. Now, typically I prefer my EVs to be silent because that's one of their major advantages, but if you want a little bit more excitement, you can turn that Iconic Sound setting on right in the infotainment system.
Bringing this review to a close, here's what the i4 M50 does well and what it could do better. This M-tuned four-door provides stellar straight-line acceleration. The matte blue paint job is not cheap, but it looks absolutely amazing. Seriously, you will want this color. The iDrive 8 infotainment system does have a learning curve, but it's super responsive and the screen looks great too. Techies will love that wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both supported. And lastly, this BMW is a relatively good value for the performance and prestige it provides. As for things I don't like about the i4 M50, they are relatively minor, except for one. This car's flipper-style exterior door handles are surprisingly unergonomic. The rear door openings and back seat are a little too tight for adult passengers, a complaint that applies to other 3 and 4 Series models as well. More range would sure be nice with those 20-inch wheels. And finally, most importantly, the i4 M50's dynamics are disappointing. The steering is just not at all engaging, which is a shame. For 2023, the i4 M50 starts at around $68,000, which is actually kind of amazing given that, 1, this is a BMW, and 2, it goes like hell. In comparison, the 2023 Porsche Taycan 4S with the Performance Battery Plus offers similar amounts of horsepower and torque, along with slightly more range than this Bimmer, but it starts at more than $113,000, including destination fees. And if you have ever configured a Porsche on their website, you know the price only goes up from there.
With a smattering of options, including that beautiful fancy paint job, as well as the driver assistance, performance, and premium packages, this example checks out for about $83,000. Now, that is not cheap, but it's still a relatively good value in the premium EV segment, certainly far better than a Taycan 4S. Aside from its staggering straight-line speed, the i4 M50 isn't that much of a driver's car, which unfortunately means it's probably not all that great of a BMW. But thanks to this car's quick DC fast charging capability, relatively decent range when fitted with smaller wheels, and reasonable price tag, it's still a very good premium EV.
Hey, check this out. On the prowl for another luxurious driver-focused electric vehicle? Well, look no further than the Polestar 2. Learn all about this exciting and stylish battery-powered fastback by watching our full review right now. Just click the on-screen box and enjoy. I think you'll really like it, both the video and the vehicle. Though I may be biased.